Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody for coming this evening. We have some communication, some letters of resignation that we'd like to share tonight.
Thank you. Good evening. We do have some letters of resignation to share. This is a smaller list than it was last summer, but it's still important to share these letters from these former valued staff members. The first one I'll start with is from Samantha Singleton, our former assistant principal here at Memorial High School. She writes, "It's with mixed emotions that I resign from my position of assistant principal of Lyman Memorial High School effective July 28th, 2023. While the decision was difficult for me, I've taken an administrative position that will be better for my family at this time." She goes on to recall the past 10 years, starting as a social studies teacher and then moving to assistant principal, and feels that she's really grown up so much personally and professionally. She's most proud of the relationships that she's developed here in Lebanon, and grateful for all the support from her administrative team, the Board of Education, and the community as a whole. So big loss for the Lyman and Lebanon community. We're very thankful for all that Sam has done for students and staff alike. We are in the process of interviewing for an assistant principal for Lyman, and we'll look forward to bringing that candidate forward to the board in the September meeting to give you an introduction. The next letter is from Salvatore Magnano. Sal was a .4 employee within the ASTI program. That is something that was new last year. We knew it was going to be difficult to maintain staff members in that role. We would love to eventually move this position to full-time, and we understand that Sal was fortunate enough to find a full-time position in another district, and we wish him the best. He did say that Lyman Memorial has been an amazing place to start his journey in education. He's learned a lot from his coworkers and has plenty of great experiences to help him grow as a teacher. He says this has been an amazing staff to work with, and he sincerely appreciates everyone that helped him in his first year of teaching. So later on in the report from the superintendent, I will give you an update on where we are with staffing as a whole, but this is a position because of the more recent resignation that we have not filled yet.
We are moving somebody to...
Yeah, I did see that on my calendar, which is a nice addition. We have a letter of resignation from Caitlin Reed. Caitlin was a paraeducator at LES, who says over the last 2.5 years, she's learned a lot of things working at Lebanon Elementary School. The memories that she's made and the skills that she's learned will be used forever, and she appreciates the opportunity to learn and grow in our district. And the last letter is from Annie Scanlon, LMHS custodian. She is resigning from her custodial position. Her last day will be Friday, August 18th, and she wanted to thank us for giving her that opportunity, saying that she loves the custodial work.
Thank you for that, Andy. I just wanted to make a little comment on all of those resignations. The board is going to miss everybody that has resigned, but just a general kind of just an observation that everybody was very grateful to the support that they were receiving. So it seems like the staff is doing a lovely job in supporting administrators all the way to our paras, our teachers, our custodial staff. So kudos to everybody for making them feel welcome, and that's not the reason why we're having the turnover. So I think that's something to be recognized, because that wasn't the case a few years ago. So that's a huge step, and just wanted to recognize everybody for that.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I'm really proud of the culture within our schools and the collaborative nature amongst the teams. And also knowing what's happening in other districts where they're really struggling with staffing. This year has been much more manageable, and we're feeling great about the start of the year.
Thank you. We will move on to our public participation portion of the agenda. According to Lebanon Board of Education bylaws, we will allocate up to 30 minutes, with each individual speaker allocated up to 2 minutes to speak. At this time, is there any member of the public who wishes to speak this evening? Seeing none, we'll move along to our consent agenda. Before we take a vote on the consent agenda, I just wanted to point out that number 7 is not included in the consent agenda. That will be in next month's packet. The minutes just didn't make it in there, and that was my fault. Okay, so if we vote to approve that, we'll have to delete number 7.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with deleting number 7.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion by Nicole, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Reports of committees. Nicole, would you like to start?
Sure. We met a couple of times this past summer, but we met tonight. The snow and ice contract, I should probably turn this on. Sorry. The snow and ice contracts opened and closed yesterday, August 7th, and this committee will move forward with recommending Buckeye for the job of removing snow from our schools. Girls' locker room replacement will start the 14th of August and end hopefully on the 22nd. We also talked about the Lyman roof scan, and we had three different different options, and we unanimously agreed that repair would probably be within a reasonable budget, and it would last us another 5 years. And then we reprioritized the capital list, making the Lyman roof priority number 1. And then finally, the masonry repair work at Lyman did not happen, so we will be contacting other vendors because this one did not show up. Next meeting is on the walkthrough on August 14th.
Great. Any questions? Nope. Thanks for that, Nicole. Brian is not here to report on finance, but the minutes are included in the packet. Does anybody have any questions on the minutes from the finance meeting on the 2nd? No? Okay. All right, Maureen, policy.
Yes, we are going to be looking at our second reading next month of the ones that we discussed for first reading in June, and we will be submitting a list of all those that are obsolete, not mandatory for the board, the full board to look at next month to decide whether or not they want to keep any of them, and then we can move along for more meetings.
Thank you, Mo.
You're welcome.
Any questions for policy? All right, Alexis, negotiations?
Negotiations will be starting this month for our administrators, so we look forward to having those productive conversations.
Great, thank you. Dawn, safety and security?
We did not.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Just for Avery to know that this would be the time right around that you'd be presenting, and if you ever need to leave during the course of those meetings after you present, you're always free to go.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Give me 1 second to get back to my agenda. All right, we'll move on to our report of the superintendent.
Okay, so last year we did move away from the monthly enrollment reports and just instead included the information in your packet, but being the beginning of a new school year and with some exciting news, I figured I would bring that back to the table today. So in your packet, just a reminder to be looking diagonally down. That will show you the change year to year. I'll start up at the pre-K. Now, I'm sure that number stands out in what you would think is not a good way. At the end of last year, we had 71. At the beginning of this year, we had 46. Just a reminder, many of those students have now moved on to kindergarten. Our numbers to start the preschool year are always lower, and we have ongoing screenings and enrollment. So I have no doubt that that number will be around that 70 as we move forward, and just kind of drop in some hints about some things that are going to be happening next year as well, with the age change for kindergarten enrollment. that will have a pocket of students who potentially will have to stay in preschool. I'll keep the board up to speed on what we're doing as a district, what that plan will look like, and I'm looking forward to communicating more with families on that topic over the course of my next few updates and during kindergarten orientation and preschool screenings throughout the year. But if you do, as I said, look across, when we looked at kindergarten, we're up from where we started last year, so bigger kindergarten classes. We had 62 at the end of last year, and we're going to be starting the year in kindergarten with 72. So that's a very healthy group of kindergarteners in terms of overall enrollment numbers. Moving down, first grade basically will be flat from the kindergarten end of June to start this year. We had a slight uptick in second grade. We had 3 students either move in or join us from the end of first grade to the start of second grade this year. Third grade will be flat based on last year's second grade, and fourth grade is up a little bit as well. Moving down into the middle school, fifth grade, from who graduated from fourth grade or moved up from the elementary school is up 1. Sixth grade will be flat from 5th to 6th. 6th to 7th is up 2, and then 7th to 8th is flat. So not much change at the middle school. Some big changes at the high school. We are up 17 students from the number that graduated at the middle school and who would have been joining us at the high school. Keep in mind, of that 72, there were several students who chose to go to the technical school or other institutions, and we were still able to have 17 over that number. So again, I've done this at numerous meetings in the past to compliment Jay and his team, and the teachers and the whole education staff here for what they've been doing to attract people from out of district. That's just at the start of the year, and that's only with the freshman class. The freshman to sophomore, that number remained flat at 83. Sophomore to junior, we're up 2 there, and then 11th to 12th grade remained flat. But already, just looking at where we ended last year at 319 to where we're starting this year at 341, plus 22 at Lyman. And if you look just across the district, where we ended last year at 950, we're at 955, so that's plus 5 across the district. And I'll remind you all the way back to the beginning of this enrollment conversation, I see our pre-K numbers being closer to 70 again. So that could put us as a district comfortably between 970 and 980, which would be 20 to 30 students more than we had at the end of last year.
That's great.
That's great.
We all love to hear that. Nice job.
Additionally, just some information that I think is helpful to understand. We had several homeschool families that are electing to send their children back to us this year. We're excited to welcome them back, happy about that. Look forward to supporting that transition. And we'll be curious to see, while we hope that the decisions that all of our Lebanon families made to go to the technical schools or to other institutions work out well for them, the door is always open here, and we'll see, we might have learners coming back. So very excited about the start of those enrollment numbers.
Any questions on that? Thank you.
Okay, moving to staffing. As I previously shared, we are well positioned to start the year in terms of staffing. We had 23 positions to fill since the spring. And to people maybe outside of education, that number would seem high, but if I remind you, we were closer to 50 last year. So to have 23, and the fact that we had such a collaborative budget season last year, the ability to be able to post, interview, and even hire much sooner on in the year made our summer seem manageable. Not easy, but seem manageable in terms of staffing. So we do have 4 remaining positions open. The assistant principal and the .4 ASTE position were ones that we referenced within the resignation portion of tonight's meeting. But as Mr. Apicelli alluded to, we do have somebody for the ASTE position who's meeting with me soon. We are in the second round of the assistant principal interviews, so we're looking to move that process along. While we are optimistic that we will find a great candidate, the thought of that person starting on day one, we're preparing ourselves to have some time without an assistant principal, just because we want to be considerate of whatever district we may be taking that person from. But it won't be too long into the year, and we have supports, or at least outreaches of support to Jay to help him get the year started. The reading interventionist and tutor, we actually had a candidate. They got a different position that was more like in a full-time teaching role, so we had to respect that. So we're back to the drawing board there, and the custodian position, because of the recent resignation, we have yet to find a candidate, but we do have applications in already.
Okay, I have questions. How many ag teachers do we have full-time? Are there 3?
2.
So it's 2.4?
Yeah.
We have 3 full-time ag teachers.
Oh, yeah.
And a .4, so it's 3.4. Okay, just checking on that.
So, just looking, because is she on this?
Rebecca Burton
Yes.
Yeah.
So Rebecca,
took Picard's.
yes.
Yes, and then this .4 was the man that just resigned, and now we're going to fill that with him.
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, let's talk about kindergarten. How many kindergarten teachers do we have?
So we have 4, and we're currently looking at class sizes of 17, possibly 18.
Okay.
Historically, we have advocated for our lowest class sizes to be in kindergarten, and strive to have something around 15.
Yep.
To the best of my knowledge, there has never been a 5th section of kindergarten.
No, I think 4 is a good start.
Yeah.
So, just to refresh my memory, three firsts, correct?
Trying to remember where that small cohort is. I believe the small cohort is now
Now in
in
third.
2nd grade.
Third is a 48 enrollment.
Yeah, so I don't want to misspeak and make
Yeah.
people feel like I'm not valuing their position, or, but we do have that small cohort that's moving through. So if you see that on the enrollment report,
Yeah.
that's where we would have 3 for sure.
Okay, so maybe for the next meeting, we can, or
Yeah, I
maybe
can
for
bring-
enrollment, we can look at all the teachers
Absolutely.
and class
I can
sizes?
bring the sections, the class sizes,
Yep.
all of that stuff. I can bring that for enrollment.
That would be really helpful, especially since we're already at 72, so we're kind of like at the max of what is ideal, what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what we're thinking. But also to help plan for that school age change,
Yep.
we might need, you guys.
And that's
need to
information
do
that I always put into the budget presentation, which I'm already building, so I will need that information, and it will be timely, so I can definitely do that. And by then, hopefully, all of our positions would be tightened up with staffing, and I can share staffing update and all of those section information for you.
Okay, good, and especially like at the 3rd and 4th grade level, because I know those class sizes are always large, so I just want to make sure they're not like excessively large.
Yeah, there's not anything right now that I feel uncomfortable with.
Okay, good. Good.
K's numbers are higher than what they have historically been, and are not where we as a district really would want them to be, but it's a good problem to have that our numbers are trending
Yeah.
upward, and it's definitely something to be mindful of moving forward.
And then at the middle school level, we did not cut any teachers, right? They still have 4 for 5th grade, 4 for 6th grade, 4, they're all 4s, right?
There were no cuts.
No cuts, perfect. Okay, and I think that's all I had. And Lyman, I questioned the ag teachers, but that's great. All right, no more questions.
All right, so the next one here is building walkthrough. This is more just a reminder. We did a walkthrough at the beginning of the summer this year, which was different, to try to take a look at what work we wanted to have done, to have the buildings up to where we feel they should be in our high standards. That was great for the facilities team, the custodians to kind of see. We've used that as a reference guide as we've moved along. We have had some significant projects that have been taking place within our buildings, which provides some challenge to navigate in terms of cleaning and prepping the building, but in checking in with those teams, they're feeling pretty comfortable even with those projects, with their progress. When we go around on the 14th, it will be nice to see where we are and still have a week or so to fix or tidy up anything that maybe still is on the list. As we had shared before, there were some things that were noted on that first walkthrough that are bigger projects that can't be done during the summer, but John Jarvis does a great job of keeping that list with him and kind of going back to it when he has time within his very busy schedule to try to chip away at those items.
Nice.
All right, great. Questions on the walkthrough? All right, moving on to health and safety. So this was a relief for me because documenting and communicating regarding COVID-19 was very time consuming. So we did get a letter just on August 3rd to underscore the need for all students to be up to date on their immunization, but also to provide updates related to COVID-19 and respiratory disease. So we no longer, because the executive orders and the guidance on COVID-19 expired, we do not have to report to DPH on individual cases. So we now are not going to do that at a district level. I'm not going to be emailing families and/or staff regarding individual cases of COVID.
Thank God.
We will still treat them seriously, and we will still follow CDC recommended protocols for managing that, but those emails will no longer take place. What I am going to continue to maintain is that tracking kind of spreadsheet, the dashboard, that I can just leave as a live document on the website if anybody wanted to see how many cases this week or how many cases during the year in a particular building. They can access that information, but I'm not going to say if there was a case in third grade, Mr. Gonzalez's class, those emails are not going out any longer. They do recommend that you stay in touch with your local health director, which we do, and if anything changes, as things do change, not only at the state level, but locally, we will collaborate with them and make sure that families, staff get that type of communication or feeling safe and supported around respiratory illnesses. Any questions about that? All right, so one of the more fun things I did this summer, I actually just went down to the Jonathan Trumbull Public Library and did a read aloud for some of our students. We probably had a dozen to 15 students that were there. We read a couple books together. But while I was there, I did drop off our annual report. I took it a step further than last year. I got it professionally bound. I dropped it off at the public library. I dropped it off at the senior center, and I brought it to our town hall so that as visitors are there, maybe they'll pick it up. I did have a nice conversation with Sarah about next year maybe even taking it a step further and including the pictures. While the 40 some odd pages of information are exciting to read and there's a lot of celebrations, we do know that pictures say 1,000 words, so maybe next year we'll include the pictures too. But if you're interested in looking at what the bound copy looked like, I do have that here. Any questions on the annual report? Oh, just as an also, it's on our webpage. When you go on right away, it kind of is in that pop-up section. I did include it in my last superintendent update. I'll keep it there moving forward. It went out on Facebook, so I think we've done our part to share the good news from last year and already have been making note of some of the things that have happened this summer that are exciting. Great. And last, the 23-24 district goals. So I did a lot of reading over the summer. One of the books I read was called Committing to the Culture, and it helped me shape the goals that I brought to the administrative retreat and worked with our building leaders to try to take what our district goals will be down into the building and ultimately into our classrooms, but really try to focus less on data and scores and try to dive a little bit more into the culture. And there were a couple quotes that really stood out to me. It said, if something happened once, it affects climate. If it happens all the time, it becomes part of our culture. I wanted to present goals, a manageable number of them, to our staff that they feel like they could wrap their hands around and do all the time. Along those lines, we're going to be trying to make what is called high-purpose environments and try to get these goals up and visible to our students and our staff so that it does feel like this is something we're working towards all the time. And then it said, culture lives in people's minds and heart. And as I rolled out our theme for the year about We Are One, I really want people to feel like this is something they can put their heart and mind into. So the first goal is around school community, providing a safe, positive, respectful, and inclusive culture that demonstrates a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. The word that we've really honed in on as an administrative team is belonging. We want that sense of belonging to be something that is kind of pervasive in our buildings. And along those lines, we're going to be focused on attendance efforts, making sure that we don't have students who are chronically absent or who are truant or who are tardy even to class. We want them to know it's important and that they belong here every day in the classrooms engaged. Goal 2 is around active learners having an opportunity to lead their learning. I feel like we made some really nice gains and have momentum around student voice. Last year there were groups at each of the buildings who got an opportunity to talk about what they wanted their educational experience to be, so we want to build on that. And the last one is around our educators individually and collectively examining range of evidence, including, and there's a lot of different examples, but really maintaining that data-driven decision-making, really utilizing all the different platforms that we have available at our fingertips to make decisions that will promote excellence with our learners. And I truly feel that without a percentage being tied to any of those, that our scores will continue to be high. Our educators don't need that percentage kind of looming over them, and if there's one thing that we can take off their plate and make them feel more comfortable about the year, that was an easy one for me to do. So we're looking forward to convocation, talking briefly with our staff about goals, and then I know the principals will be bringing it into their buildings.
Can I just make a comment, Andy?
Sure.
I do like how you said that it was going to be kind of like living in the buildings. Sometimes, we set these goals and then we never see them again, or we see them in mid-year, then we see them at the end of the year. But I really like how you're going to have them, living within. The students are going to know them, the teachers are going to know them. It's going to be a part of the culture, which I think is going to be super impactful. Just as a side note, as a parent, I don't know if anybody is watching, but if you have a student in middle school or high school, you should have also received the goals within that mailer, which I also thought was a nice little touch. So everybody, the families can understand what the goals are and how they can kind of help support the community and the school as a partnership. So.
That's it for the superintendent report.
All right. Any questions? Comments? All right, we'll move on to our finance report, 22-23.
Hello.
Hey, Val.
Okay, so these are our June 30th, 2023 unaudited financials. So I just want to preface that while this number is as close as it sits today, there are potential changes that could happen. I wouldn't consider them significant, but, and for sure, by the time we request the overage, luckily there is a surplus. If we look at the last page 3, our surplus is $36,432. So that will be a written request to the Board of Finance to be put into our non-lapsing account. And what I was starting to say before is by the time that request comes into play, we'll certainly have a better idea of a solid surplus number, and I would hope that any surprises or changes will happen by then.
Val, can I just interrupt you for a second? Did you say 36 or is it 63?
63.
63. Okay, I thought I heard 36.
Yeah.
That's what I heard, because I wrote it down.
I see 36.
I was wondering, I was trying to find the 36.
That's a better way of finding out though, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
didn't say 63, it's really 36. Sorry, there's just been too many numbers.
I can imagine.
So, we can say we're happy about that, right? Some of the drivers of that dollar amount, one unfortunate side would be staffing changes. Andy alluded to it earlier, we have a lot of staffing changes coming into the year, through the year, and ending the year. So those ins and outs sometimes end up in a positive, give us a positive financial position. The other large driver to this would be transportation. So in fiscal year 2021, Andy and I had a big honest conversation with M&J Boss. We give them a lot of money every year for transportation, and we were concerned because they weren't able to outfit every run, right? We've talked about this in meetings. Not every bus was running. They were having staffing issues. And so I was happy. It was kind of uncomfortable at the time. Maybe it's kind of like the first thing Andy and I did together. But it made this year so much easier. And I'm even more grateful for M&J Bus because we pay them upfront in the beginning of the year. So we send them a gigantic check and we take advantage of a 1% discount. I was nervous that having to monitor runs and what bus ran and what didn't, we were going to have to go through this on a monthly basis, and we weren't going to be able to take advantage of the 1% discount because I didn't want to give them all of our money per se and not have that honest back and forth about what was happening and what wasn't happening. So M&J Bus swore we could still pay them in full on 7/1 and take advantage of the discount, and that they would get back and forth, let us know every single month what buses weren't running. And they did. It was a clear, easy to read spreadsheet, and they gave us back a lot of money because they weren't able to outfit all the buses. So again, another unfortunate circumstance, but ended up being a positive financial situation for us. So I just wanted to make sure that especially with all the overages and oil we had, if we go to look at 606, it's on the second page, heating energy, unfortunately, it was like to the dollar spot on what I thought it was going to be of $95,000 over what we budgeted. And what goes along with that is transportation fuel as well as $23,000 over what we budgeted. So it was pretty amazing that we were still able to pull out of this budget season with a surplus.
And not that I feel, if I may, Sarah, the need to elaborate too much further on it, but when Val talks about staffing, like there were literally positions that went months without being filled because of the timing of the resignation. So you think about salary and benefits for people that just weren't paid. So to
While
her
the
point,
positions weren't filled in the schools, it wasn't a good thing. but
exactly. The
financially-
timing of the resignation and managing those holes in staffing during the year were a tremendous burden on our administrative team, and our teachers really had to pick up the slack, and kudos go to them for partnering to still make year such a productive year. But last year such a productive year, but in the end, from a budget perspective, it helped.
Any questions on 22, 23? All right, we'll move on to 23, 24.
Yeah, so not much. This is our August 31st report. Not much going on. No one's in school yet. You'll notice a lot of activity in what I call the 600s, right? Supply lines. These are our purchases for the year. Not much activity in salaries yet. We have non-certified staff for the 12-month people. Any questions, though, I'd be glad to answer at this point. If anybody has a specific question about an area.
Questions? No?
Thankfully, we still have 90% of the budget left.
Thank goodness. I'm glad about that. All right, thanks, Val.
No problem. Yeah, so I continued on to update our facilities tracking list. This list has no activity, you'll notice on it, but I wanted to show you guys more for the balances, right? So if you look at the top, the school improvement plan starting balance for the year is $119,000. So we ended June 30th with $19,805.71. We got our allocation of $100,000 on July 1st, so that's the balance that we are working with this year. You'll note on the second page, the projects that we've approved and that we've designated and, approved as a board total $338,000.
Can I ask a question about how that works, though, with the SIP? We don't have to ask for that 19,000 again? It just stays?
No, it's a rollover,
That just stays?
yeah, it keeps
Okay.
rolling over, yeah. And it stays right there. And actually, in order for the town or anyone to take it out of there, we have to go to town meeting.
Okay.
So it stays right in there.
Okay, go ahead. Andy.
And
Same with technology and athletics, the other capital accounts.
by the September meeting, there will be things that are underway now that would show up.
Yeah,
You know,
just have it
there's been some painting across the district, the line striping and crack filling, that will be taking place
Yeah,
at
that'll
the middle
start up, yeah,
school.
yeah.
So there are some things that we're already working on, and, hopefully by then we'll know more about the catch basin, so it's nice to have a clean slate to work from, but we'll be updated by next meeting already.
And also, depending on what happens with long-term planning,
Sure.
some of these projects may get kicked over.
Moving on to our non-lapsing account, again, in the new fiscal year, we don't have any activity, so no new approved projects from the board, but more so for the balance, where we ended June 30th, started July 1 with $227,000, 115.01. And I know that Brian was curious about that balance, so
Yep.
that'll be pretty in the packet.
I'm actually surprised we still have this much money in here.
So there could still be projects that weren't completely paid out yet. There could be, but for the most part, we did have a few projects come in under budget that we had allocated to non-lapsing, so that could be the balance of it. But I think we started last year with like 330,000.
We did, right, and we had talked about, we knocked a few projects out from that account with facilities at the end of the year. And then we talked about like what a good dollar amount would be to like shoot for, what projects could be, get done from this account, so it didn't kind of look like, oh, that money is just sitting there and the Board of Ed is not using it.
Well, isn't this for special ed cost as well? So we can't anticipate any of that.
It could be.
Yeah.
Would you like us to bring a recap?
That'd be great, yeah, it just might be helpful.
Of last year.
And I know we voted on all the projects that we did, but I don't remember hearing that projects were coming in under budget significantly.
We also did some IT purchasing from that non-lapsing also.
Yeah, I'll just revisit. I'd like to say it was probably in the June, like a good snapshot of it would be in our June packet, but just in case anything happened over the summer, I'll make sure to update that.
Okay, thanks.
No activity on athletics capital or technology capital. And unfortunately, I was having some issues getting the reports run, so I just did not include them. If anybody's interested in the balances, either I'll have figured out the report by the next meeting,
Yeah.
or I can email the balances, but there was no, change in activity or anything like that.
Any questions? All right, thanks, Val.
No problem. I might just be here for reaction items.
Okay, of course, you can stay right there. I'm sorry, give me a second, I lost my agenda. All right, well, brings us to action items. Action item number 1, act on letters of resignation.
I move we accept the letters of resignation with regret.
No second.
Thank you. Motion by Maureen, seconded by Alexis. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Action item number 2, act on the 23-24 Board of Education goals. I did actually ask for a slight change in one of the words. Does everybody have the goals in front of them, or you do?
No.
Yes, it is. It's not in the packet, I believe.
Yes, the shared one.
The only recommendation that I wanted to make was just in the heading was the 23-24 Lebanon Board of Education goals. And then underneath it says Lebanon Public Schools has high standards for all. I just recommended that we change that word has to maintains or takes pride in maintaining. Some type of a language change. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
I like maintains better than has.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Andy.
If I could contribute, I like takes pride in maintaining better than just
Okay, yeah.
maintains.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts?
My only thought was, I know that the rest of our documents, the portrait of a graduate and everything, we're going from LES all the way up. And I know that we're getting better at this, but to explain our standards. Because we say we have them, but what are they? So I just want to be clear, or I just want to make sure that we're clear that we're maintaining these standards, but that our students and our staff and everybody is aware, I guess, what they are. And again, we're doing much better with that through our evaluations and our job descriptions, all the way from our students all the way up. But I just think that we have a little bit more work to do on that. But I like the pride thing as well.
Okay. How could we do that? I know that we started to put our goals on all of our documents, all of our agendas, on the website, and that type of thing. So if anybody has any ideas on how else we can communicate with them so that they are more readily available. We'll think about that. Come back to it next month.
I have an idea, if you don't mind.
Yes, go for it, Adrian.
So I was thinking about like implementing it to the teachers, like letting the teachers know what the goals are, and then they can try to pass it on to the students, because I know that when teachers say a lot of things multiple times, I have it stuck in my brain. So like, especially with younger kids, since they're so moldable, if we just like say it to the elementary school teachers and then they can pass it on to the students, then the students know what the goals are, and then if the parents ever ask, they can kind of relay the message.
That's a great idea.
So if I could add to Avery's point, when I was talking about those high-purpose environments, I wasn't thinking of including the Board of Ed goals. It was more just district-level goals and school goals, kind of side by side in all classrooms so that teachers, students know what's going. But we could add a third document, and it could be that full through line of Board of Education, district, and building.
That would be great.
Another perfect example of student voice.
Thank you.
Thanks for showing up tonight.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. We'll revisit this in September. Okay? Great. Does anybody want to make a motion with the adjusted language of either maintains or takes pride in maintaining? To approve the goals?
I make a motion that we change it to takes pride in maintaining.
And you'd like to approve the Board of Education goals for 23-24
Yes, I would.
school year?
Yes.
Second.
Motion by Maureen, seconded by Nicole. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. All right, act on school meal prices. Was I mistaken? Did some legislation happen this week?
Yeah, so Val's here and she can help me along and talk about what we were prepared for this evening and add in the additional information. So first of all, I want to thank Carlos and Bobby from Chartwell's. They've been very collaborative all along, but over the summer they met with us a couple different times to talk about what do we want to communicate to families, what information do we have and can we share, and we've always taken the approach of let's give people the information sooner, and if we have to surprise them with good news that like, hey, meals are free again, or whatever the state might decide, we can do that. So we had collaborated, we, put out our frequently asked questions document as part of the summer mailing that had the anticipated cost. And then we get the information from the state about the Stable program, which is going to allow for everyone to have free breakfast. And then any student who had qualified for reduced lunch gets free lunch. But we still have to have costs for families and students who did not qualify for reduced lunch. Did I do that good, Val?
Yeah.
All
So
right.
paid are still paid. Paid students are still going to be paid. Anybody who qualifies for free lunch, obviously gets free lunch. And what happens is, so we'll use some simple math. A meal costs us $2. And what the federal government for free students reimburses us $2. They reimburse us $150 for reduced, right? It's a portion of reimbursement, and they reimburse us nothing for paid students. So what the Stable funds are doing is they're covering that 50 cents of that reduced meal. So the federal government's going to give us $1.50 towards the $2, and the Stable funds are going to pay for breakfast for everybody and cover the 50 cents to make those reduced students now free.
So it's good news.
Thank you, yeah.
It's just not what the news said. It's not free meals for everyone. I don't know why they said that.
There is going to be confusion that will be my job along, with Carlos and the food service team to communicate to families that it's not free for everyone. And to communicate after this meeting what, is voted on by the board as the price. But when I was talking earlier about the health and safety kind of changes, and I said things change, they change across the board at the state level, and we hoped that we'd get good news, and we did, but the timing of it is not the best, But we'll do our part. So thinking about the proposal for the meal prices, just some background information. The last price increase for Lebanon was approved at the start of the 2020-2021 school year, but never went into play because then free lunches happened. So it's been a long time since families have had to prepare for and consider the cost of meals. And the way Carlos explained it, and Val can definitely help, if we don't use Carlos's and our food service team's proposal, then anything that we would have to pick up the cost basically as a Board of Education to pay for what would be lost. Is that correct, Val?
Yeah, so when we went out to bid, part of the bid process is the contractor telling us the financial health of the program. And it's a nonprofit, so we can't necessarily make a big profit. But there is a small, I think it's $1,200 or $2,000 profit that Chartwell's assured us that they can make happen with this program. If we don't move forward with the price increase, there's a potential that the program is going to run in a deficit. If the program runs in a deficit, the board, because again, it's a nonprofit, the Board of Education, this operating budget, would have to cover that hole,
And that
no matter what size it is.
Yeah, and that projection was close to $19,000.
Correct. And so a big part of what we keep talking about, regardless of the numbers, is participation. So we hope everybody continues to participate. We hope we still have all the kids, because that can change the numbers as well. So that was even a bigger consideration for us to look at increasing the prices. If we don't increase the prices, we have a potential deficit. If we don't increase the prices and we don't have the participation, the deficit can be even larger. The state, just to give you a little background about how they came about this number, because we are on the National Lunch School Program, we have to follow what the state gives for, they actually give us a calculator. So it helps us set the price. And it gives us a weighted average for the state. So we need to get closer to that weighted average. That's what this meal price increase is doing for us. Can't go over it to stay on the program, but we have to get closer to it. That's basically what the state mandates us to do.
So what we're asking the board to vote on today, which would be effective on the first day of school of this year, August 28, 2023, you could ignore the breakfast numbers, but it would be, at LES, lunch would be $3.25, at LMS, lunch would be $3.60, and at Lyman, lunch would be $3.80. The increases at each of the buildings is because of the change of menu and the variety provided.
And I would encourage the board to still consider the breakfast prices, only because when we do go back to fully paid, we don't want to have to pick up from the 18, 19 costs, right? You know, the last time that dollar amount was approved and bring us up, so. But these are the numbers, and you see here the weighted average set by the state is $3.55. So between all three of our schools, we have to be around that dollar amount.
Motion to approve the school meal prices as posted.
I'll second.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Alexis. Any discussion? Questions?
I'll pay $2 for breakfast. Can I show up?
All those
Our
in,
adult prices, they're not listed here.
we don't have to vote on those.
Yeah, we don't.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Okay. We have action item number 4, act on purchase of computers for food service program.
Oh, you want to sit? You go.
It's fine.
We need 2 chairs.
We did use some of that money before to purchase 4 point-of-sale systems that hadn't been upgraded since I've been here. There's also 3 manager machines that haven't been upgraded since I've been here, that we were looking to use some of that lunch surplus, what is it called?
Yeah, so the funding for this purchase that we speak about for the devices in the school lunch program are going to be approved out of the school lunch program.
So there'll be 3 manager machines, 1 for each school, and the total for that is $2,359.77. That's a monitor, a desktop, keyboard, mouse for each school.
Is that a different account than the one we
Yeah.
were just talking about?
Yeah, we
Okay.
run the food service out of a whole different account.
Right, but I mean the POS system.
It would be coming from food service.
Well, that was already approved in May, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, right, so
Yeah.
this is the
a-
manager machines,
These are
yeah.
the manager machines, the point of sales, which I've already, we put them in during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And these are manager machines that we'd like to finish this summer.
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear about my
It's
question.
fine.
My question was, is this the same account that the funds for the school lunches goes into?
Yes. It's a whole business in itself. So,
Is that the same account that we had fixed equipment with? Or no?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, we did the
The refrigerator.
cooler work, the refrigerator work. We
had to spend the money.
Yeah, and so this is a part of like our corrective action plan
Okay.
for utilizing the surplus that we're reporting.
Oh, this is the surplus?
Yes.
Also? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I wanted to know.
And that's all three of them or each?
3.
Oh, it is?
Yep, there are 633.60 each, and the monitor is 152.99 each. So total again was 2,359.77.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the purchase of computers for the food service program
For a total of
for a
23,
total of $2,359.77.
I second that.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. All right, act on the purchase of some Chromebooks.
Chromebooks, yeah. We need them every year, but this one was a total of 120 Chromebooks that I went out to bid for. This is the beginning of the school year. It was going to be 100, but we did add, thanks to the high school, we added a few kids from out of town which don't have Chromebooks. So those kids have to get a brand new device. No, not a brand new device, but a device. So it's 120. I am recommending CDW at $29,400. I know there was one that was a little lower, $83, Archangel Education, that I had never heard about. I did call them just to talk to them, and I didn't get a fuzzy feeling about delivery. They said they would be delivered in 1 to 2 weeks, and I wasn't very comfortable with that. I've used CDW plenty of times, and they usually ship out the next day or 2 days, within 2 days, and I usually get them that week. So I don't want a chance for $83.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Especially when I've used CDW in the past, and their price is right there, right along. So I'll make a recommendation that we go with CDW for the 120 Chromebooks to start the year.
Is there a dollar amount or just 120 Chromebooks?
It's $29,400.
$29,400.
Okay.
That includes the Chrome license with the Chromebook.
Motion to approve the purchase of Chromebooks, 120 of them at $29,400 by the company CDW.
I'll second.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Alexis. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously.
Peer pressure.
You don't want to think about Chromebooks for everybody.
With a grunt.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe. An hard time finding my agenda. All right, we have some information from our snow and ice control bids. Nicole, would you like to share before we?
Sure. We have We had 4 bids yesterday, August 7th. Buckeye came in at $92,000. EA Quinn Landscaping Contracting from Glastonbury was $140,000. Safeside Home Services from Hartford, $221,000. And Pondview Excavating in Lebanon came at $83,775. Pondview was the company that we have been using for the last 5 years, I believe, maybe even more. And we are making a proposal to go with Buckeye Construction from Lebanon, Connecticut at $92,000.
Questions? Is there a motion on the floor?
A motion to act on the contract for snow and ice removal, snow and ice control, and award it to Buckeye Construction at $92,000.
I'll second that.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion?
It's a 1-year contract?
That is a good point. Typically, we go into it with a 5-year.
Remove that language.
I like the 1 year because in case,
Just want to make sure.
yeah.
Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Okay. We have an anticipated executive session on our agenda for the purpose of discussing superintendent evaluation.
But John's not here.
Right.
So do we table it?